All right, good morning, everybody. How's it going out there? It's been a while. I haven't had to look at my camera. Yeah, so hopefully everyone's having a good time. Everyone's getting logged in. I'm already seeing some people saying hello and good morning. So great morning to everybody here. As some of you maybe saw on my Instagram, like I was just doing a morning workout today because the markets are just a mess. We have Jerome Powell, we have Janet Yellen testifying, we have all the other Feds that are out there speaking, and the market's just been the market itself has been mostly sideways, but everything underneath the surface has kind of been falling apart. A handful of names are going up, but it's very, very tricky, and it just seems that overall, most everything is just not too happy out there. So we're going to be looking around. One of the other things I wanted to talk to you guys about, now my Moxie subscribers know this. I've made a video about this last week, but I got real bullish. I was looking for my exact setup and everything was working out, and then I jumped the gun just a little bit too early. So I wanted to review that because, I think in trading, especially coming from our standpoint, we want to show everybody like how great we are and, that we're going to help you and make money. Sometimes we make mistakes, and I want you guys to be able to learn from the mistakes that we make. And the biggest one about this was it was all in my rules. Everything that I teach, it's all right there, and I jumped the gun by one day, and it stung a little bit. But we're going to walk through that because I want to have full disclosure and transparency with you guys to show you how that stuff works so that we can then apply it going forward and make sure we don't do that again. So, yeah, thanks, guys. I do appreciate that. So if anybody doesn't know who I am and wants to find out a little more information, come over here, profitpilot.com, profit-pilot.com. I've had a few blogs recently talking about the market, and one of these, new market at highs, but wait, so I nailed that one. And then satisfied market, that was the one where I jumped a little bit too early, and then not so fast. So you guys kind of see the saga of how I'm looking at through the markets and where we go with this kind of stuff. So let's dive in, and I'll show you what I was looking at as far as the indices, and then also a couple of the names that went a little too early on. So the thing that we've been looking for with the S&P. Oh, give me 2 seconds. I have to pull the plug on my little writing utensil, and then plug it back in, and then that should. There we go. Okay, so here you can see that we got what? We got price that shot up out here, and that's all fine and dandy. But the thing I was looking for was a pullback to the hourly 50 or probably just below. And so right in through around here was about where I was getting it. I kept telling everybody, look, I'm looking for a pullback. Oh. Sorry. Cat got caught in the headphones. So, real life stuff, isn't it? All right, so then we're looking at this and waiting for that pullback. And then when Jerome Powell spoke last week, he apparently said some stuff that the rest of the market really liked, but it was a trap. And what I do and what I teach is that I look for price, to initiate the beginning of a move, as I want to see price over the 15-minute 50, something to that extent. And so right here is where we got that, because we started getting basically our day and a half, almost 2-day pullback, and then the market moved up. It's like, oh, okay, there it is. But what we need to do is wait for confirmation, and that's where the next day came in. And the next day, you can see right here, did not confirm. Price did not hold the 15-minute 50. In fact, you can see here that the Moxie indicator was still below zero. And then by the end of the day, look, that was the end of the day right there. That was a pretty big down move. And, hindsight is always 20/20. You look at this and say, oh, man, that was pretty clear. And yes, it was. So what I did is I jumped the gun right here based on the way that the market's responding. But if I had stuck to the Moxie rules and the Moxie indicator and everything that I teach, it would have kept us a little bit safer because, right in through here, the next day, price did not hold the 15-minute 50. And you can see right here that the Moxie indicator was still below zero. Those are not entry signals. And then therefore, price rolled over and kept going down. And if we look at, let me show you NEO, because it was another one of the names that we looked at. And I'll show you, this is why I was very bullish going into this stuff, because everything was starting to do what I wanted to do as far as the Moxie rules and everything. So, we've been watching price on here on the daily chart just keep moving down, 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 right? Well, that's the leg. And then we look at this, and then we get our first bounce, that's the heel. Then we get up here, the arch of the foot, everything was working perfectly. We had this gap between price and the hourly 50, so you don't go in yet. And then I'm waiting for the pullback, and what do we get? right here. We get price below the hourly 50, but the Moxie indicator is above 0. There's that pullback, and here on there's the arch of the foot. On the daily chart, there's the ball of the foot. You can see where I had a yellow line drawn. That's the kind of stuff that I was looking for. And what do we get? We actually got price to bounce. That was with the Fed news last week and everything that they kind of jacked up like that. That was a good move. But what do we do? As I said, I jumped the gun a little bit too early, and we didn't wait for confirmation. Let me kind of zoom in a little bit here so we can see what that was, right, in through here. And what we can see is price did jump up. So it's like, okay, price is now over the 15-minute 50. Great, right? We think we should go in. I should have known better. I was getting really antsy because I was looking at all this stuff and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna nab it on like the first possible one. We're gonna be the first ones in. It's gonna be great, and then this thing's gonna take off. That was not the case. The very next day, you can see price fell back down and it stayed below the 15-minute 50, and the Moxie indicator never got above 0. So this is a pretty good education lesson to show you guys that it's all right there. We just need to be able to know what we're expecting and looking for, and read the tools right. So the other mistake was that if you notice, the 15-minute 50 kept trending down. If you see that, you see how prices or the moving average was still trending down. Price never actually held the 15-minute 50. So that was the mistake. And then if you look here, the same spot right there, you see how price never held the hourly 50, and that the 8 was still below the 21. So the fast moving average was still below the slow moving average. That is still considered a downtrend, and therefore price continued to move on down. Then we get some bouncing and whatever, and then I'll take it a little bit further forward so we can show you like what's going on currently right here. And this is what I was talking to my subscribers about the other day. I said, look, price is getting rejected by the underside of the 15-minute 200. Price is still getting rejected by the underside of the hourly 50. I said, I think we're going to go lower in here. As of yesterday, price was back below the 15-minute 50. And again, the 15-minute 50 is pushing price. Look at the Moxie indicator. The Moxie indicator yesterday was super red and super below 0. It's not looking good. I was like, these things are going to keep going lower. And sure enough, that's what's happening right here. So, sometimes you step on a rake, but you know what? You take the small loss and you get out. This is one thing that I see from new subscribers, new traders all the time. They're like, oh, I'm still in. I didn't get out. I'm like, why didn't you get out? I mean, maybe I made a mistake and, stepped on a rake, but you got to get out if it's not going to work. You got to get out. That's partly why I set stops, because, set stops, even if you're wrong, you're automatically taken out. That way your mind doesn't try and play tricks with you. And then that way, we take a little bit of a mistake right there, but it's much better than taking a bigger loss out here. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking at. Daydreamer, yeah, thanks, man. So that's kind of what I'm looking at now, trying to figure out a little bit of a path forward. Where might these things be going? Because that's the whole question that we're always asking. Like, okay, great, so we learned a lesson, but there's no trade. Like, what are we looking for? Well, there's still some possibilities here. We still could be making just a bigger elf shoe, as you guys know that I talk about it. I got a ton of the Moxie subscribers in here, so everybody's kind of learning my lingo. I love having you guys here, so it adds a lot of warmth to the chat. But look, we could still be making something like this. Leg, heel, arch of the foot, and what do? Ball of the foot. And remember, it's like a double bottom. We're just kind of trying to come down and retest some low area. We don't know what that is. And for those of you who've taken my class and stuff, it's like, is it a shallow double bottom? Is it an exact double bottom, or is it a deep double bottom? We don't know. We don't know what it's going to do, and that's why we have to use the lower time frames to figure that out. And the initial place right here, where I was expecting price to bounce off the hourly 50 or do a trampoline move, didn't work. And the 15-minute time frame told us that, and so that's why I quickly reversed my decision on that. And then from this point forward, what we're looking at as well. Where is support? Maybe there. We don't know yet. We're just gonna have to watch. But if price does keep coming down like that, look what we're still technically in a trampoline move, and we still have divergence. So I'm watching this stuff. That's why I don't really want to go bearish on this stuff, because number one, the bear side is usually a little bit challenging. It's a little bit messy, because really, like when you're looking at a move like this area. Yes, price has been moving down, but look how bouncy it's been, down and then up and then down and then up, and okay, then it finally gets a little bit of a waterfall. That is challenging to trade, and it's not quite my style. So what I look at when I see this kind of stuff is basically people are trying to figure out where the bottom is, right? They want to go long. They're not trying to short this stuff. Like the short side, I think, was already here. Like we already had some really big moves to the downside. At this point, everyone's kind of like, okay, we're trying to figure out where support is. And so you get pockets of buying. And then you get pockets of buying. And then, maybe people let stuff go a little bit. But this is why I don't really want to be trading here, because what it's trying to do is figure out, is this going to be support? And I just don't think that there's enough meat on the bone. And I think it's a little bit risky to try and do something like that. Now, of course, there are opportunities to go short in certain places and other ones a little bit better and stuff. But, for something like this, and I'm seeing this in a lot of places, like look at SPCE is another one I keep talking about. Do you want to short this? I don't want to be shorting something like this. The opportunity was to short up here, but even through here, I don't want to short it because it's really not going anywhere. And really, what we're looking at is this is still technically a trampoline move because price is below the 50, but the Moxie indicator is above 0. And I think we're all trying to figure out, okay, when is this stuff going to stop going down and when can we go long again? And that's why I don't think that we should be looking to go short on some of this stuff, even though they just aren't working. Because the same thing, I'm seeing this across the board out there. So many of the names that I love to trade are all doing the same stuff. They got the leg, heel, arch of the foot, and we're trying to figure out the ball of the foot on the daily chart, along with the trampoline move on the hourly. And you know what? We're kind of getting some divergence, positive divergence on the 15. So there's just not enough meat on the bone to go with this stuff. And that's kind of where I'm at. So just neutral ground. I'm not much of a short trader, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so Sikar, you're asking on Neo, but it's the same thing for space. Moxie daily is below 0, so hourly may not hold. That is also true, yes. So that is something to be aware of. That also means we're probably going to have a lot of work to do to get this stuff back up and running. If we look at the NASDAQ, because a lot of these names are actually looking a lot like the NASDAQ, look here, we got some issues. We got some work to do. Price is still getting rejected by the underside of the daily 50, and the Moxie indicator is very far below 0. That is a long way from going positive. So we're going to have some work. This is why if we start moving up again, kind of expect some moves up and then some pullbacks, and then move up, and then we'll have to reassess because we're underneath a lot of moving averages that just need to get out of the way. So, and then if you look at the hourly chart, for those of you know, 50, 250 is kind of what I've been looking at for that. I was also looking at trampoline move right there because price below 50, but the Moxie indicator above 0. That would also be, I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you guys, but if you understand what I'm talking about, it makes perfect sense. Leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot. We're trying to make that elf toe. Is it going to work? We still don't know because basically the NASDAQ is going sideways. Another way that we could look at this is an inverted head and shoulders. There's one shoulder, there's the head, there's the other shoulder. So that's a possibility too. But we need to see this stuff hold. It's just having a hard time. You see that price is still getting rejected by the underside of the hourly 200, but then technically this is a trampoline move, but nothing's holding. What are we supposed to do with this? That's kind of the biggest problem here is just what are we supposed to do with this because nothing's really happening. And if we look at the IWM, there was some moves here, and I was telling the Moxie subscribers right through here, I said, hey, this doesn't look good either because we've got price running right into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50, and look at the Moxie indicator. Both lines are below 0. That is negative. That's negative energy. That's negative momentum. I was like, I think we still have some more downside on the IWM, and sure enough, it just kept pushing down. So until I can see until we see something happen, it's just not working. I'll back up just a little bit, and what I was talking about last week, the thing that made me want to jump in on this market to the long side last week, which didn't work out, was I was expecting the pullback, right? Because look at how far price was from the hourly 50, and it came back down here and did a trampoline move. Price below the 50, the Moxie indicator above 0, right? And look what happened. Right here, you can see price got back over the 15-minute 50, and what I was looking at the next morning was right here. I thought, oh, okay, I see that price has come back down to the 15-minute 50, and I need this to hold because if it holds the 15-minute 50, then we can start moving on. And it did it for a little bit, And then by the end of the day, it failed. And you can see here that the Moxie indicator never actually recovered. It was spread. It was one below zero. Like there was just no energy there. And the IWM did not hold the 15-minute 50. So as soon as price doesn't hold this moving average that you're looking for, and if the Moxie indicators aren't looking good, you got to cut. It didn't work. The trade we were looking for didn't work. So yeah, want to make sure everybody knows that, and we take these lessons that are happening in real time and apply them out there. Let's see. The materials, I don't know. Let me look at that real quick, and then brighter side, yeah, I'll address the FOMO situation. So HD, Home Depot, yeah, there's some stuff here. It didn't follow my rules that I'd be looking for the hourly chart, but it was on the 15. Look at this thing. Well, let me back up just a hair so we can actually show this right there. So what you can see is we had some divergences. Notice that price was down, Moxie indicator was up, and notice that right here the indicators were spread. That means they're not very strong. But notice here they look like one line, much stronger, and that's what I teach over and over and over and over. Those of you who have taken the class, you know what I'm talking about, and you're like, oh yeah, now I see it. That makes sense. It's the same stuff all the time. I teach the same thing over and over and over. And right through here, you can see price just ran the 15-minute 50 the entire time. That's awesome. Now, at this point with HD, I'd be careful. It is getting pretty darn extended. Like, look, it is extended on the daily chart. And the issue here is it has not touched the hourly 50 for a very long time. This thing is extended, okay? So, who's asking me? Aaron, if you're in this thing, I'd be taking some profits. In fact, I'd really be tightening up all of my stops on something like this and saying, hey, maybe this is just a good enough run and I'll just get out. I would do that. But see, this was such a big move. It never touched the hourly 50. So this was a 15-minute setup, and you have to trade it based on a 15-minute time frame, okay? So that's what we do about that. Teresa, thank you very much. And then MMM. Yeah, kind of the same thing. And these are not stocks I trade. They're just, usually Home Depot is a mess. Look at 3M. Usually it's a mess. So there is a sector rotation that was going on that is just not my style because these names usually don't go anywhere. Here is the Moxie price trigger. So that's a pretty good entry. And then the 15 is a little bit messy. Like this one would be a little bit difficult to hang on to. But so far it's been staying above the hourly 50. So that's kind of where it's been. Again, we'll see. Can price hold the hourly 50? If it can, then we continue moving up. But look here, it did hit the third ATR, and that's where it slowed down. So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. And let's see, let's address some of these FOMO names. Now, Funko is one that I'm aware of. The only way that I could be looking at this is that it is a name that I typically look at. It's on my watch list. And there was a couple things. One, there was a trampoline move right there. So that was a setup that I use, but I'm not so sure I would have taken it. The only reason I would have been looking at this thing is because it shows up on a abnormal volume scan. This thing yesterday, I mean, look at the volume on this thing. It is massive. It is huge compared to what's normally going on. Now you'd have to decide, do you want to go chase after that? We don't know what the deal is. Maybe you can go look and search and find some news. Maybe they're getting bought out. Something is going on here that is taking the volume from probably a few 100,000 shares to well over a few million, several million shares. I mean, it's absolutely huge. So just be aware of that. Maybe you're playing with fire because we don't know what the deal is. Something has happened with the stock. Now, what you could do is, well, because price has moved up so significantly and because there's huge volume, then let's trade it. But you do run the risk of this, price moving up, price moving back down. That's day trader territory. And you see here, from here to here in the day, you didn't miss anything. And this is one of those things that you run the risk of, is when price is super extended for the day, it could come back just as hard. So I caution you about some of that stuff. However, if you're asking me, hey, how are we going to trade this? It does actually follow the rules. Look by the end of the day. Yesterday, price came back down to the 15-minute 50 and it bounced. That is one of the first rules that I talk about is I want to see price actually hold moving averages on the 15-minute time frame, and then it continued to move up. So that's kind of how I'd answer that. And from this point forward, I would just kind of use the 15-minute time frame to see if it's going to be working. Now, let's see. What else do you got on here? AMAT, I'm familiar with that one. What's going on? I wouldn't say that this is really a FOMO play. This has been trending for quite some time, and Sure, it bounced up today, but it's been kind of choppy. I wouldn't say that I'm missing anything on this. And then CSCW. Let's see. Again, kind of names that I'm not sure I'd be trading because these things are looking kind of sketchy. Let's see. What is the typical? Let me figure out the typical volume on this thing. Actually. So typical volume on this thing, okay, it's a few million, so that was decent. So could have gotten in on something like that. And what I would say about this is this actually does follow most of the rules. So look at this. You have a trampoline move on the daily chart, so price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above 0. There's also an elf shoe in there. Here's your leg, here's your heel, here's the arch of your foot, there's the ball of your foot, there's the elf toe. And then as far as the rest of the charts, right there. Actually, here's a good example. So the whole reason why I went into Neo and into Space and all these other names that didn't work out is exactly this. This is the setup I was looking for. Just like Neo, just like the NASDAQ, I was looking for price to pull back right there into an uptrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator crossing 0, and I thought we were going to be off to the races. So that's why I went into Neo and Space. They didn't work out. This one did. And what you can see is we then knew that Neo and Space did not work out because they did not hold the 15-minute 50. Look what CSCW did. It held the 15-minute 50. Therefore, all of the rules worked out. Then going forward, if you're in this thing or if you're looking to trade this thing, everything continued to work. Like this, it continued to hold the 15-minute 50 beautifully. The 8 stayed over the 21. Everything worked. And then you know what? Some sort of news came out. We don't know what it is. Maybe you can search it, but something came out to where there's massive volume today, 200 million shares today, and then the thing jumps. So, I'm not really a fan of chasing something like this because they can come down just as quickly. I'll show you another one in a second, but as far as the Moxie rules, this was a good entry. You could have been in this thing, and then surprise, some news came out. And that's the only thing you can do about these kind of FOMO trades is say, well, either it did or didn't follow the rules. And if it didn't follow the rules but it exploded, there's no way for you to know. There's just no way for us to know about something like this. Let me show you CLVS. Was it Clovis Oncology? So this is the other side of the coin about these FOMO trades, all right? So brighter side, I hope you're kind of looking at this stuff, and I really hope this applies to a bunch of other people who kind of see this stuff. I've had to learn over the course of the years, you know what? There are going to be big explosions and huge moves and all this kind of stuff, and sometimes you just can't do anything about it. And I rather protect my money because half the time, something like this happens. So Clovis, they probably got some FDA approval or some drug or something like that worked. Or maybe there's a buyout rumor or something. There's some sort of news that came out here. And you know what? There's nothing you can do about it because this thing was going down, down, down the entire time until the news came out. And then it just exploded and went the other direction. Now what are you going to do? You're like, oh, there's a ton of volume on this thing. It's amazing. It's going up. So, let's jump in. But look what happened. The 15-minute time frame, just like I was talking about on these other tickers, the 15-minute did not hold the 15-minute 50. It did not hold these moving averages, and therefore it came back. And now look where it is. It's right back down to the hourly 50. So this is where you get into the rough stuff of sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. That's why I tend not to play them. I'm just not going to trade and play something that has some crazy moves like this because they don't always behave the way that I need them to behave in order to risk my money on them. So I think that's my answer for that. Now, Clovis, it's come back down to reasonable areas. It's back on the hourly 50. The daily chart looks pretty good. I'd look for this thing to set up, and if it sets up on the 15, I'd probably go in because something's happened and it looks more constructive now. But I don't always want to go chasing stuff. All right. Yeah, good. Okay, Aaron, glad you were working out on that one. Let's see. Yeah. Austin, so Camilo bought it. Okay, I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Again, I don't usually do too much with news because everything I need to know is usually in the charts. But good to know. I figured there was some sort of crazy news like that. That is unprecedented volume for that ticker. FLGT, this is one I've been watching. This is a kind of a broken record here. This is what I'm seeing for a lot of names. They're not really doing anything. So yes, this is a trampoline move on the daily. That's great. But then what? Well, we see here, there we go. Price got rejected by the hourly 200, but then it came back down here on the hourly 50 and the Moxie indicators above 0. That should be support. That should be a trampoline move. We're starting to see some divergence, and okay, today's a good day. But is it moving? Can I trust that this thing is actually going to get going? I don't know yet. And I'd rather see the market get in shape before I actually start putting money on something like this, because you know what? It could continue to get rejected by the hourly 200. We just don't know yet. Now, maybe if tomorrow or the next day or whatever, it starts to prove itself and it can get over the hourly 200 and continue using the 50, and maybe the market shapes up, then great. I'd be happy to go into this because FLGT is on my watch list and I'm just seeing what it's doing, but nothing yet. There's just nothing yet. So UPST, I don't know this one. Same thing, you know, okay, it had earnings. There must have been good news on earnings that came out. What are you going to do? Well, if you want to chase it, if you want to be quick about something, see how this one compared to Clovis. You see how price did hold the 15-minute 50? So there's a move. And where did it fail? Right there when price didn't hold the 15-minute 50. But we could see that coming because look how far price was from the hourly 50. It's getting extended, and third ATR on the daily chart. So very, very extended. Now give it a little time. Let's let this thing pull back. Let's see what it's going to do. Maybe it's going to find some support at the hourly 50, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing continue to pull back a little bit, because I just don't think it's going to go up from here, and I don't think it's going to hold. I think it would come down a little bit, and then maybe it'll set up again later. So yeah, you guys are kind of bringing me tricky names about this stuff that, you know, these are weird moves. They don't typically follow, and it's hard to figure out what's going to be going on with them. Yeah, MRAM, let's look at PLTR. Also didn't hold the, second entry, right? So MRAM, this is exactly what I'm talking about, and anybody who knows the Moxie method and all that kind of stuff that we do, this is what I was looking at. We were just chomping at the bit right there, because we're like, okay, this is it. The price is going to come down. It's either going to bounce off the hourly 50 or it's going to dip just below it for a trampoline move because the Moxie indicator is above zero. But here is the key. Here's the absolute key. MRAM, I know you know this. Why did we not buy anywhere right there? Because nowhere on the 15 did price actually hold that moving average. Nowhere. And this is why I got a little bit tricked on something like NEO or Space, because they looked like they were going to hold. They looked like the 15 was just starting to turn up and they actually got over the 15-minute 50. But Palantir, PLTR, never got over the 15-minute 50. Look at that. So that's our safety. That's our safety. That's the thing I teach about all the time. Like, that's perfect. This thing told us never to go into this, even though we were like, okay, is it going to hold the hourly 50? Never did. So you back off. You say, okay, leg, heel, arch of the foot. You know, okay, where's the ball of the foot? We don't know yet. Is this divergence? Yeah, we've got some divergence, but has it kicked in yet? No. We even have divergence here on the 15, but it still hasn't kicked in yet. Trust me, I'm frustrated too. I really would love this market to shape up and do something. How about Tilray? You know, we look at Tilray along with all the other cannabis names. We kind of zoom in a little bit further, and same thing. Right here, right there, is price going to hold and bounce off of the hourly 50? Like, it looks like it's going to. But if you look right here, price did, for a moment, get over the 15-minute 50. But what was the 15-minute 50 doing? It was trending down. And where was the Moxie indicator? It was below zero. So this is why it didn't work. There was nothing on the 15-minute time frame. You know, price did not hold the 15-minute 50. The Moxie indicator was still below zero, and you can see that after that it continued to just follow the 15-minute 50 to the downside. So there's no trade. There's no trade. And we look here. Hey, we're starting to come into like double bottom territory, where we do have some divergence. I can't call it yet because it hasn't stopped going down. And we do see some divergence here on the 15, but it's still not there. I mean, look at the Moxie indicator. It's still very spread and below zero, and price is still below the 15-minute 50. We've got work to do. Like, these things are just not happening, and I trust me, I'd love to have this stuff go. So yeah, Austin, at SNDL, it's going to be the same thing as Tilray because they're all looking the same way. Yeah, Gus, I know we're waiting for April, so whenever all that's going to happen. Overstock, yeah. So Overstock is another one, and this one was very, very clear. This actually, so to my subscribers, I said, guys, I'm looking at SOS, I'm looking at Mara, Riot, GBTC, but then I'm also looking at Overstock. Why is Overstock, of all the stocks crypto related, why is Overstock the one that is actually telling me more information about the rest of the cryptos? It's because when they travel in packs and they bring their friends. And so when I looked at this, I thought, I see that Overstock is probably going to fall off of its hourly 50 and move down. Why? Because if you look here on the daily, look at that. That is the arch of the foot on the daily. That's just not, this isn't a pattern that, goes up like this, takes a little break, and then goes up further. They don't do that. And also look here, we had price running into the underside of a downtrending hourly 200. And then if you look here, the Moxie indicator was looking pretty weak too. So I looked at this and I said, Overstock is likely to pull back. And if Overstock, as basically a Bitcoin play, is going to pull back, then maybe the rest of Bitcoin and Bitcoin related names are also going to pull back, and maybe I should be a little bit extra careful and extra aware of that situation. And sure enough, here is Overstock falling off of the hourly 50, and you can see here it got underneath the 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator, well, very red and below 0, and you can see here rejected by the daily 50, the 8 still below the 21, and this thing began to roll over. And this is exactly what I told my subscribers in the weekly video, because then if we look at Mara, what happened to Mara? It didn't go anywhere. Because we took a trade right there, and then you can see here, soon after price broke down through the 15-minute 50, it broke through the hourly 50, and now they're not doing anything. And so, funny, Overstock was actually giving me more information about Mara and Riot and GBTC and SOS than anything else. And so I was like, okay, so that told me something to be aware of. So there have been a ton of lessons in the last week out here. So I know that some of you guys are probably frustrated because, we're losing money here and there. That's fine. Lessons learned, take notes. I'm teaching you guys all day, every day about this. Those of you who aren't subscribers or have not taken a class and you're seeing me on YouTube here or Facebook for the first time, I gave you a ton of information out here that is useful, because I know that a lot of people want to know, like, great, you can always show me a good entry all day, every day, but show me when things go wrong. Show me how we need to know how to get out or when not to trade. That's what today was, and I thought that there was a really good opportunity to show you guys, because this market is an absolute mess, when not to be in or what to look for when things just don't work out. And so hopefully that was very educational to everybody. I'll leave you with one of these. There we go. I'll leave you with this. It's profitpilot.com. That's where you guys can find more information about me. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I love doing this stuff, even if it's frustrating because we're not making any money right now because there's nothing going on for the market. And hopefully, as some people were saying, maybe April will be a better month. We need to get this market in gear. I'd love for the market to go up, but we're at the mercy of whatever it's going to do. And we just need to kind of stay patient, learn from those mistakes, take these opportunities and say, oh, how do we know when not to trade, and apply it better for next time? And then we know how not to step on a rake and when it's time to get out of the market. And this is a really good example. We went from extremely, extremely bullish market to just not. And for those who are new to the market, new to me, new to trading, this is the kind of stuff that we need to be able to learn and that you're going to have to experience, because you know what? It's not a bull market all the time. You're going to step into stuff like this, and it's these times in the market that's when you lose all your money. You can make so much money over in the market when it's good and over a few months, and you'll give it all right back in a matter of weeks when the market doesn't do well, because you'll keep trying. So hopefully everyone took that as some good education lessons. Really, if you guys want to learn more, I've got classes about this stuff. I put so much information into my Moxie subscribers. Every week we talk about stuff, and we've got more coming. So if you're interested, come check me out. I'm here to help. And, I'm here every week, transparent as possible. So thanks again to everybody. I love seeing all the comments out there. And for those in the Moxie room, I'll see you back there in just a few minutes.